heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati. We welcome all with love. I am Sherry Ogden, and my pronouns are she and he. There will be a cast of characters today that will hopefully make the next 1 hour super fun.
And I also want to welcome everyone to First Unitarian Church. I'm Barbara Newman, and I use the pronouns she and her. This beautiful church is located on the ancestral lands of the Adena and Hopewell cultures, and the Miamia and the Shawandasi people. Our beloved community is dedicated to the social justice and equality and inclusion. We respect the various spiritual and ethic beliefs of others and honor the experience and gifts each person brings with them. Today, we're going to explore theism, agnosticism, and atheism, whether in person or virtually. Thank you for joining us. So that everybody is comfortable at this church, we encourage you to take care of yourself. We have listening devices and noise-canceling headphones and orders of services at the back of the sanctuary if you'd like to use one of them. And also feel free if you need to get up and move around. You can always listen to the service also in the lobby, and there are gender restrooms off the lobby and gender-neutral and easy-access bathrooms on the second floor. I now like to introduce to you Brett Davis Roberts, who is the Vice President of the Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Barbara. I'm Brett Davis Roberts. I use the pronouns he and him. I just wanted to make a brief announcement. I'm also the understudy of our awesome president, Amy Bottomley, who couldn't be here today. but we will start the congregational meeting promptly at 11. So if you're members, please stay for the meeting. Thank you.
This reading is written by Reverend McCarty. The gentle atheist does not equate religion with superstition. Rather, to be religious is to aspire to a life of significance and meaning in the face of this immense, mysterious cosmos in which we have more questions than answers. It is to acknowledge partnership and compassion toward our fellow beings and our common descendants. The gentle atheist resolves to live a life of curiosity, appreciation, and commitment. The gentle atheist acknowledges the immensity of time and the cosmos, and that such greatness and subtlety range beyond human imagination. In humble investigation, in expanding the boundaries of human insight, lie wonder and mystery enough. There is no need for superstitions, dogmas, or idolatries.
Good morning again. My name's Carol Wommeldorf, and we're going to do the chalice lighting now. So this is the reading for that. Let us now join in union and love. We come together here this morning as people of diverse perspectives. We bring different beliefs, different loves, different fears, different joys, and the lives of those who came before us. And yet, we are here with all our differences, seen and unseen, and we come together to form something altogether new. A community held by common values, warmed by love, guided by reason, and deeply engaged in the search for meaning, and that which is of ultimate value. For this community, we illuminate the chalice, the symbol of our free faith, as Unitarians do today throughout the world. Through this simple act, we unite also with that larger community, adding the light of our small flame to the great struggle to bring justice, love, and peace to the earth. Now, if you're willing and able, you can stand to sing hymn 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
with that wonderful song, stay standing and greet your neighbor, because you know you love to. Come on.
I'm finally learning how to use that thing. Hi, Lily. Long ago, there was a village where God walked down the center, in the middle of the street, and onward to wherever she was going. And it was such a spectacle, as you can imagine, that the whole village came out to watch her go. And when she was gone, they all began to talk. How amazing was that, they said. Yes, amazing. And did you see her red hat? Her red hat, what are you talking about? She was wearing a blue hat. Well, as they continued to talk, it turned out that everyone on this side of the village saw a red hat. And everyone on this side of the village saw a blue hat. And they were very adamant about what they saw. They began to argue. God had a red hat. Say it. Red. 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 I know it was red. But no, God had a blue hat, right? No, it was red. The fighting became so big and so unmanageable, they decided the best way to reconcile was to build a wall straight through the center of town. I wonder if some kids or kids at heart could help us build a wall through the center here. Wonderful. You can crawl over here. Come on. Yeah. So here they are, building a wall. And not only did they build a wall, but then they decided they would have two different churches. The church of the red hat and the church of the blue hat. Who here would like to be ministers of our two churches? All right. Okay, we have our two ministers. But you have to go over there. You're on that side. Yeah, you have to bust down that wall temporarily. It's a very good wall. They did a very good job building it. Yes. So we have our two ministers, the minister of the red hat, God of the red hat, and the God of the blue hat. And they had the wall, but still they continued to bicker. Until one day, God came walking down the road once again, this time on top of the wall. Again, it was a spectacle, and so everyone in the village came out, and someone finally decided to ask the question. God, they said, we loved it when you walked down our village all those years ago, but we've been having an argument ever since. On that day, were you wearing a red hat or a blue hat? God thought for a second. And she said, I think I remember that day. And as I recall, I was wearing my hat that is red on one side and blue on the other. And someone began to laugh. And that got other people laughing. And they laughed, and they laughed, and they laughed so much that the wall came tumbling down. And that is where the story ends. Thank you. I wonder what happened after that. Well, if our helpers here could help us clean up our wall, and then we are going to go to class as the congregation sings us out. Please find in your heart a joy or sorrow that you would like to share. Now, we're doing things a little differently today because our sermon is pretty long. And so instead of coming up or dropping a rock in water, what we're going to do is you should all have a sheet that was given to you by an usher. And you should have gotten a pencil. If not, the ushers, I'm sure, will joyfully bring you one. If you choose, on the back of the sheet that you're given, please write a joy and or sorrow, and they will be shared in Ellen Hall during coffee hour next week. So if you could go ahead and just do that right now. Just on the back of the sheet, I'm looking at people in there. Does anybody need any pens, paper? No? Okay.
I also want to share about the flowers that we have today. These beautiful flowers are provided by Kate Ogden Kibler, who is the daughter of Sherry Ogden Wellington. And she is giving those in prayers for the children who will be born to parents that have to give birth to babies that they aren't prepared to have due to the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Thank you.
Please now give... Please give, Carol, get up here.
I hadn't finished with my...
I'm sorry, honey. You can do it later. That's all right. It's right there.
I'm good. All right. Thank you all for your patience. This month's Share the Plate is for the Jubilee Fund for Abortion Justice. Now, it's more important than ever to support a woman's right to choose. If you haven't done so yet, please seriously consider this very, very important cause. Most of you have your own way of giving to the church. You can either text the word give to 513-717-737. It's on the screen if you're on Zoom. Or you can access our Breeze member system and click Give Now. Some of you give online at firstuu.com, or you can mail it to 536 Linton Street, 45219. Any way you can choose to give your contribution, and it might be in time as well as funds, keeps our church running and allows us to continue doing the important work we are all committed to doing. Thank you.
A Muslim, a Jew, a Christian, a pagan, and a theist all walk into a coffee shop. And they talk, they laugh, drink coffee, and become good friends. It's not a joke. It's what happens when you're not an idiot. Funny, but it sends a really important message. Labels are there only to help others quickly understand the most basic of who we are. Whether it's in politics, Democrat, Republican, independent, sexual identity, homosexual, straight, gay, lesbian, pansexual, or race, white, black, Hispanic, or even what country you come from, America, Mexico, Korea, or religion. If you're a Christian, a Jew, or a Lutheran, we need to get beyond labels and find a way we can relate to the person as a person and not just one aspect of who they are. Labels are definitely over-reductive, but they help us humans by giving us just a little knowledge to go beyond and to figure out how to converse with that person and maybe not insult the person accidentally. Please do not take offense at the use of labels here, since they're only used as a gateway to really learning that person or understanding them thoroughly. According to Wikipedia, apostasy is a formal disaffiliation from abandonment or renunciation of a religion by a person. Let's face it, most of us you use have done this. Determining what our faith means to us and how it defines us is the heart of this service. Beliefs are fluid, though. I don't know about you, but I have gone through a process of being an agnostic, a theist, an atheist, and gone through that whole process. Beliefs are fluid. You may feel that you fluctuate between different beliefs throughout your life. Our church members' beliefs are varied, as you know. They are those who still associate themselves with a particular formal religion. Others are theists, others are agnostic, and others are atheist. In fact, I was told, I think 5-6 years ago, that the majority of our congregation are atheists. And I found that interesting. And that is why on the back of, or on the other side of the questionnaire on saying what joy or sorrow you have, if you want to write your name down, that's great. If not, cool. But I would be interested very much, and I will share this information with you, on how many of us are truly atheists, how many of us are theists, and how many of us are agnostics. I thank you for allowing me to delve into this question of why do people believe what they believe, and also how is that belief help us, each other, get to really truly understand one another. Journal entry by John Steinbeck in 1938. Try to understand men. I'm going to put / women. If you understand each other, you will be kind to each other. Knowing a man will never lead to hate and almost always leads to love. Now, our story begins. Rebecca and Carol, get on up.
Now for the morning show with Rebecca Schaefer. Show starting the one, the only, Rebecca. Give it up for Rebecca.
Good morning. Welcome to the morning show with Rebecca Schaefer. Personally, I wish it was a little later. My son just got here. I'm your host, Rebecca Schaefer, and what a morning we are going to have. Today we have the amazing Kim Clokey, the ever kind and gentle Aaron Baker, and the incomparable Sherry Wellington. I know. It's a pretty good lineup. Like somebody else, I'm going to bring them back in 20 years for my anniversary. Our first guest is Kim Clokey. Welcome, Kim. How are you today? We're here to figure out who Kim really is. You need a microphone. It's so hard to share the stage.
Sorry, Rebecca.
That's all right. We've shared the stage before, so I'm excited to have you back here. Just like in Stephen Colbert's Questionert, we are going to have our own questions to help understand who Kim really is. Are you ready to play?
I'm so ready.
So ready. Excellent. First, our most basic and probably, simple question. Do you consider yourself a theist, an agnostic, or an atheist?
I consider myself an atheist.
That's bold.
Thank you.
Is your belief system different from the one you were exposed to as a child?
It is different.
How is it different?
As a child, I was raised Episcopal. I was baptized in an Episcopal church. my family went for a few years until I got into dinosaurs. And at that point, no one could provide me an explanation as to how the Earth was created 3,000 years ago, but dinosaurs were millions of years old. So I decided I believed in dinosaurs.
Very cool. I was born and raised Unitarian, so when I learned about dinosaurs, it was like, and then we're also going to cause an extinction event, and, humans will be gone. So, it's like everything's a give and take. There is no better or worse. What were the major events other than the dinosaurs, which we have museums to it, so I would consider it a pretty big major event, interactions or reading material that led you to your particular spiritual belief?
I think my spiritual belief solidified in college. At undergrad, I went to a small Jesuit school for a language program, but we were required to take religious education credits. And as part of those, I took world religions, studying languages and anthropology. I learned that so many people have so many different ways that they interpret the world, and how could anyone's be right? So that kind of steered me toward no one is right, we're all just figuring it out.
Very cool. In what ways, I love this question personally, especially as someone who grew up in the Unitarian faith, in what ways does your belief system help you cope with the sorrows and joys of life?
In some ways it doesn't. But what I believe in is science. So when a tragic event happens, or a good event happens, or there's a joy or a sorrow, I can tie it back to the concept of energy. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. We all have energy within us, and when someone dies or when someone experiences a joy, that energy is released, and the rest of us can feel it. There have been times in my adult life traveling where I've been in a very historically significant place and felt that energy from everyone who had been there before. And I think that's what some people might interpret as God. But that's what helps me to deal with things, just knowing that so many other people have been through a similar event, and I can use their energy to guide myself.
I think that's a great explanation. Actually, my husband and I were just talking. He asked me the question the other day. He was like, how do I explain wonder to Elliot? He's like, how do I explain wonder to Elliot in our world? And I said something very similar. So I think that's a framework of looking at the world that a lot of us in the Unitarian faith share. This one's good too. I love a good celebration. How do you celebrate or share your beliefs?
I don't necessarily share them because being a Unitarian as well, I don't want to evangelize people into being an atheist, although that's an oxymoron, I think. I just try to be kind to everyone. I don't always succeed at being kind, but I try to. And then when someone gets to know me and finds out that I have this belief system, they might think, hey, just because she doesn't believe in a God, she's still a good person.
That's great. I think there's a lot of people. Wow. You've gotten as much applause as me. Now I'm starting to get jealous.
All right, I'll say something wrong.
Yeah, you've got one here to bomb
booed.
if you'd like. All right. What is one thing that you would like the church members, our assembled guests and audience, who are neutral because they're clapping for you more than me, that you would like them to know about your belief system?
Well, Sherry just shared that I think a lot of you are also atheists, so I don't know that I need to be telling you anything.
That's a really refreshing view for our church.
I'm just going to leave it there.
I think she just said that she doesn't know that she needs to be telling us anything. There's an option to get like another stained glass header in here, I'm just saying. All right.
Yeah, live your truth is what I'll say. Live your truth.
Awesome. Kim, thank you so much for coming in and opening up and sharing about difficult things. Yeah. All right. Since that was so great, I want to know more. And our next guest will be Aaron. Come on up.
Science fist bump.
I had the opportunity
That was our science fist bump.
Nice. I had the opportunity to meet Aaron for the first time, well, maybe it was 2 weeks ago. It feels like a week ago because I have a toddler and no sense of time. But at a coffee hour when he had just joined our church. So in classic Unitarian form, we have now impressed him that he must be a part of the service. So please be kind to him, audience. So are you ready, having watched what Kim went through to play?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. All right. Do you consider yourself a theist, agnostic, or atheist?
Bisexual? Oh, wait, sorry, wrong question. Agnostic. Yeah, agnostic. The middle one.
The middle one. Good choice.
You know, when people ask me, why am I agnostic? You know what I tell them? I don't know.
That's a good answer, and one that, with a 2.5-year-old, I anticipate I'll be using often soon. Is your belief system different from the one you were exposed to as a child?
Absolutely, yeah. As a child, I grew up in the United Methodist Church, and we always went to fairly liberal churches, but we celebrated all of the important Christian holidays. I wouldn't say that we were particularly religious. It never felt to me like the religious aspects of the church were the most important thing. So in that sense, a lot of the beliefs that I got, I think I still have, the belief in charity and service and loving your neighbor. It's the religious aspects that I just don't vibe with as much anymore.
Yeah, structures can be very challenging. So what major events, interactions, or reading material, or see other, led you to this particular spiritual belief?
So my father's a retired mathematician, so I grew up with science in our household, belief in the scientific method. I was lucky enough to go to a school that taught a lot of critical thinking skills. So I had that background, but I remember a very sort of formative experience for me. We had an assistant pastor at the church that I went to. His name's Sam Greening. Still remember that. I was probably 12 years old when Sam, who was bald, told me his favorite Bible verse. And I don't know if anybody here knows about the bears in 2 Kings, but I'll tell you in case you don't. So the Bible verse that he brought my attention to was from 2 Kings chapter 2. And you have a prophet, and he's traveling around, and he's headed up towards a village, and some kids come out, and they start making fun of him for being bald. And you can imagine that this spoke to Sam, but I think the reason it really spoke to him is that the prophet then cursed the kids, and God sent some bears to tear them apart. And I think it was at that moment that I thought, do kids really deserve the death penalty for teasing? Is that the religion you're expecting me to buy into? So I think that really was sort of the start of me questioning, are these really the beliefs that I share?
I would leave him a 2-star review.
So your bald guy was my dinosaurs.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So far, for scaring kids, we have bald guys and dinosaurs. All right. And bears. Bears. Elliot's obsessed with bears. He's done this new thing where he is not good enough for us to read books for him now. He brings us air and calls them pretend books and tells us what the title of the story is, and we have to make it up. So I'm gonna be using that later. Next time we need a bear story. How does your spiritual and belief system help you cope with the sorrows and joys in your life?
I think it really doesn't. That's the sort of the disappointing thing about being agnostic is I find myself envious of people who have a very strong belief system because I imagine it's much easier when you start thinking about big, weighty topics like death to think there's something after this, somebody's looking out for me. And not having that is very difficult. But I think that what that does for me is that it reminds me that because I don't know if there's anything coming after this life, I really have to make the most of this life and share the love and the resources that I have with other people so that they also can have the best possible life now.
I like that too. On a more positive note, how do you celebrate or share your beliefs?
So I don't
I feel
know.
like those are two different questions. One is about celebrating life, and the other one is about sharing your beliefs.
Yeah.
You don't have to be on the street corner with like the megaphone.
And I don't think that I don't think that I share my beliefs very much. I think that tends to be something that that agnostics and most atheists have in common is they don't necessarily go out and share those beliefs. There isn't that evangelism, but I think that it's important to share the values that I have. So, and I see that in a lot of ways as separate from being agnostic, right? For me, being agnostic is really just comes down to whether I believe that there's a God. But there are so many other things that I believe in, other values that I hold, like kindness and compassion and service towards others. And I think that those are the beliefs that I like to share with people.
That's great. Our third guest still has a chance to not be as well-liked as me. All right. What one thing would you want the church members to know about your belief system?
Well, I think it's important to know that being agnostic really just boils down to admitting that I don't know, right? For me, it's sort of a humble position to take. It's an admission that it's possible that there is no God. It's also possible that there is a God, and I just don't feel like that's something that I'm capable of knowing. And so that leads, for me, to a tolerance of both points of view. As long as, you see militancy on the part of both atheists and theists, and that's something that I don't have any patience for. But as long as the people that I'm interacting with have tolerance for other beliefs, I'm able to have tolerance for both of those things.
Mm-hmm. I always tell Philip I can barely even use my phone after an update to the interface, so who am I to say I understand how the whole world works?
Amen.
All right, thank you, Aaron. I feel like I know you a little better than I did at coffee hour. And last, give it up. We really do have some great guests today. Our last one will be Sherry Wellington. Come on up. I'm good. We're all wearing black today for color coordination.
Yay! Oh, hi.
Except for
Hello,
Karen.
Aaron. Oh, thank you. All righty. I hate to say this, but I think I've answered all my questions to them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We all have something in common? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, man. That's tough. Do you consider yourself a theist, an agnostic, or an atheist?
Okay. Everybody's seated. I am a theist.
Is your belief system different from the one that you were exposed to as a child?
Actually, that's what Aaron and I have in common. I was raised a Methodist. I was baptized a Methodist. And when I was 12, I left the Methodist Church, but yes.
Very cool. I was flower dedicated, and I also got to have flower communion, which led to lots of confusing conversations with lots of the Catholic individuals that grew up in the greater Cincinnati area. I remember one of my best friends almost became a nun, and when we were like 8, I told her that I was excited for church because it was going to be flower communion. She asked me if I ate the flowers. I looked at her like she was crazy, so we were good for each other. So what major events, interactions, reading material, or other led you to this particular spiritual belief?
My father died when I was 12. And at that point, I knew what the church was saying made no sense to me whatsoever. And that is when I left the church, and my mother told me that when I could drive, I could go and check out different churches and make my own decision. So at 16, I became a Unitarian Universalist.
That's so cool. I well, obviously was raised in the UU church, but I had a very, very close friend pass in college, and for me, I think that's, and Philip also had some stuff happen when he was young. I think that's part of why we came back to the Unitarian Church at the age that we did in the early 20s, because I know for me, while there is certainly a lot of open-ended questions and wonder and flexibility, I think there's also a lot of structure for that questioning and support within this church that is incredibly valuable when you're going through difficult times like that. So I'm glad you found us at that age. In what ways does your belief system help you cope with the sorrows and joys in your life?
Well, this is very similar. I'm a theist, but I don't know if there's one God or many gods, or if the God is just within us. So, to say, like, my husband died when I was 40, and it would be so nice to think that when I die, I'll go running into his arms and everything would be great. But unfortunately, I'm not that type of theist. So I guess the one thing that really comforts me is that I know that within most of us, there is godliness. There's something beautiful and wonderful and incredible.
Very, very. I would say my experience was similar. Coming back to the church, like I remember there's like within our church, there's certain reoccurring rituals that we do, right? Certain hymns that we sing often, and we debate from time to time, like should we sing them every week or whatever. But like I remember for me, after my friend passed, going back to my childhood church and hearing everyone sing "Spirit of Life" was like an incredibly moving experience, and I felt very blessed at that time, to be honest, because being in that college age, going through this, what was a very group experience, a lot of my friends who came from different, more rigid institutions or religions struggled in different ways with this death, where I felt like I had a lot of flexibility within my belief system to deal with it, which was a huge gift. All right, we've talked a lot about the hard parts of spirituality. In what ways do you celebrate or share your beliefs?
When my husband, my daughter's here, when her father was at Georgetown University in the cancer unit, and what I would do is I put a Christian, a Catholic, a Protestant cross up. I put a Jewish prayer shawl on his bed. I put the hand of God. I put just all kinds, pumtak beads from Hindu and Buddha everywhere. And it was like a celebration of the positive within us. I mean, not the part of religion that we all dislike and left, but all the good stuff. And so that's fun. And also raising the kids. You can celebrate everything. Christmas, Hanukkah, everything. It's Passover. It's just fun. I like just celebrating and having fun with my kids. Yeah, so.
That's awesome. I always like to say that the best thing about you being Unitarian is you still get Christmas. Yeah. Nobody brought that up, but I think Christmas is pretty fantastic. And flower communion. If you have kids, flower communion is where it's at. What is one thing you would like the church members to know about your belief system?
This is the reason, actually, why I am the worship leader for this topic. is because, and thank you to Tim and the worship committee for letting me do this, is that sometimes people, when they find out I'm a theist, kind of like, oh, that's just, that's so. And, but it was funny, Linda, I said, Linda, are there any other theists in the church? And she told me who it was, and I went up to her, and she goes, I'm a Christian. And what did I do? Oh, I'm not a Christian. I was judging her, and I'm going, oh my gosh. No, it's like we do need to accept that for whatever reason we believe what we believe, it's necessary for us to get through the day, and that as Unitarians, we should just love and accept everyone as long as they're following our belief system.
If I can glom onto that too, I feel I was flower dedicated, born and raised. Like I was up here during children's hour when I was 18 months old, like pulling the dress over my head, mortifying my parents. So, for me, I feel like we spend a lot of time within our church talking about what we're not, or what we came from, or what we've rejected, or what we've left behind. And I have no language for that, because this is where I've always been. And then my son, right? He's growing up in this church, and he's hearing everything that we say. And what I would really challenge all of you to do is, it's so easy to talk about the hard parts of life and the hard parts of what we've left behind and the hard parts of spirituality and the hard parts of belief. But we are surrounded by kids in this church, young people in this church. I know for a fact that there's people who are raised Unitarian in this church who are a little bit older. And it's okay to just approach it like this is how it is and celebrate that fact. So be bold in your Unitarianism, celebrate it, share it with others. It's not a bad thing, it's not a dirty word. And that's all I have. Thank you to everybody.
Thank you so much, Rachel, and all of our guests, Kate and Aaron and Sherry, come on down. And Barbara, you're up quick, because we are running over. Apologies in advance.
What are the basic emotional needs of human beings? If you Google it, you will find a wide variety of ideas, with the most frequently noted areas being that people usually need to feel, connect to others, appreciated, accomplished, and safe. This usually can only occur through being a part of a community like this group, this church. Simply put, people want to be happy. And how they do that is through varied and sometimes conflicting means, but they are always striving to have their emotional needs met. Isn't the purpose of religions or belief systems to support these emotional needs of people? Whether you're a theist, agnostic, or atheist, your spiritual beliefs are based on your own personal emotional needs. And as Unitarian Universalist, we are not here to judge, but to accept the beauty and soul within each of our members. This is not to say that you have to be friends with everyone or agree with them, but to simply honor who they are. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And just a simple reminder, if you could leave the survey and your joys and sorrows on the back table on your way out. Now, it is time to extinguish our chalice. By repeating the words on the screen, we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again.